Hello everyone and welcome back to Pod Plan Entertainment. My name is Chris, and in case you don't know, I review movies and I rank them on a scale of 0 to 100 in increments of 5. Today, since Black Friday is tomorrow, I decided to honor that with my favorite Black Friday movie of all time, if there even is such a genre, Paul Blart Mall Cop. Alright, so I'm going to talk about this movie for a minute. I remember when this came out. It came out back in '09, and I went with my mom and my siblings to go see it. And the theater was packed. I remember there was a bunch of my classmates that were there for a birthday party for a girl I didn't know, who I think ended up being my valedictorian when I graduated high school. But I remember, there was, something on my seat that looked like vomit, and it was on several seats, and I had to sit on it anyways. And then, right after the bad guys take over the mall, my older brother gets sick. We walk out, and then he throws up in the trash can right outside the theater. So I didn't get to finish the movie. But I did finish the movie later on at home. And this is a movie I ended up growing up with. It came out, let's see. If it came out January of '09, I think, so I would have been 9 when this movie came out. Now I'm 22, and I'm still thinking about it, which is pretty funny. Let's talk about Paul Blart Mall Cop. I can't believe I'm reviewing this movie. Alright. So, Paul Blart Mall Cop came out in 2009, and it stars Kevin James, Keir O'Donnell, Jayma Mays, and Rainy Rodriguez. It was directed by Steve Carr, and it was produced by Jeff Sussman, who I believe was a producer or director on The King of Queens, which is why I think he helped him work on this. This was also written by Kevin James. So let's talk about it. So this movie is about a mall cop in New Jersey who's single, and he would like to find that woman to settle down with, and this lady starts working at the mall, and he falls in love with her. Well, then all of a sudden, the mall gets taken over by these criminals on Black Friday, and he's the only one left inside because he doesn't realize that they've taken over the mall, and he decides to go John McClane and start taking them out one by one to rescue the girl he likes and the other hostages. Yeah, so I've already talked a little bit about it, so let's just jump into my pros and cons. So, my first pro is that this is a pretty funny movie. I do think this is funny. It's not hilarious. Like, I think Ghostbusters and The Big Lebowski and Men in Black, my favorite comedies of all time, I definitely think those are funnier than this. But this movie does have some good jokes, and they land. For the most part, they land pretty well. Kevin James is perfect in this movie. He as an actual person, he has a lot of charisma, and as an actor, he has a lot of charisma. But he did such a good job portraying this oblivious, innocent mall cop who takes his job way more seriously than he needs to. I used to work security at a theme park. I don't remember us ever having a creed, but this character makes up his own, which is pretty fun. And this movie pokes fun at the fact that security guards don't really have any real authority. It pokes fun at that a lot, which is kind of true. I mean, yeah. Speaking as a former security worker, yeah, they didn't have much authority over anything. Also, the soundtrack is really good. This movie features a lot of '80s music, and some of my favorite songs I actually discovered through this movie. It's got Eddie Money, Kiss, and Survivor in it. And Kevin James, it's very obvious he's kind of nostalgic about the '80s, because when you watch The King of Queens, his character likes to reference the '80s often in '80s music. He talks about how much he loves Van Halen and Earth, Wind, and Fire in the show. And the music itself in the movie is really good too. Not just the soundtrack from bands, but the music for the film. It's pretty good. The action sequences are pretty fun. They're not anything special because this is a PG movie, but they do as much as they can with the PG rating. This movie has some great emotion in it, and it doesn't ever feel like it's pouring it on too thick. It does a good job at tugging at your heartstrings and all that. I also love how all the bad guys have reindeer names. That they use reindeer names as their code names. I thought that was really clever. The twist in this movie, which I'm gonna spoil that for you, by the way, because it's been a while, and also this isn't Avengers Endgame. So Vec, right? He's like signs up. He becomes like one of the mall cops, right? And then he ends up being the leader of the bad guys. I remember like that. I definitely wasn't expecting that the first time I watched this. So good on them for not making this this movie predictable. And then the stunts are amazing. All the bad guys were played by like these BMX parkour people who like live and breathe for doing cool stunts, and it all shines in the movie. They do a fantastic job. Now I'm gonna get into my cons. Now, I had a list of cons for this movie, but then I stopped and I thought, am I really about to sit down and critique Paul Blart Mall Cop? Yeah, that just felt weird. So I'm not gonna read out all the plot holes that are in this movie because there are quite a few. I'm just gonna say this movie has plot holes, and the script probably could have used another draft. And then my biggest con with this movie is that this should have been a PG-13 movie. It really could have benefited from the PG-13 rating. Now, I know that Kevin James is more about clean comedy, and I respect that. I love Kevin James. I've always thought he was funny. He could have kept the comedy in the movie clean, but the violence in this movie could have severely benefited from a PG-13 rate. Like when he's fighting Vec at the end next to the airplane, that could have been so much more. All the action in this movie could have been better. So it should have been a PG-13 movie. And I mean, they use guns, but only when it's convenient. And I'm assuming that's you know, a plot hole, but that's also maybe because of the restrictions that come with a PG rating. Look, this is not a great movie by any means. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is because I grew up with this movie. This is nostalgic for me. Like, even the technology in this movie is 2000s. Like they're using like keyboard phones and stuff in this movie. Stuff that we had when I was a kid. You know, we didn't have the phone that I'm recording this on, you know, right now. We didn't really have that back then. That wasn't as common. So this movie reminds me of my childhood. It's one of Kevin James's better movies, in my opinion. I mean, I think it's better than this movie by a landslide. Why do I even have that? It's not a great movie, but it is a really fun movie. It is one that I enjoy. I guess I would say this is a guilty pleasure of mine. Yeah, I could probably say this is a guilty pleasure movie. But but I'm not saying that it's a bad movie, because I don't think it's a bad movie. It's just a movie that has a lot of problems, but still manages to be good, in my opinion. So, with all that being said, I'm gonna give Paul Blart Mall Cop an 85. All right, yeah. So I reviewed Paul Blart Mall Cop. That feels weird. But I'm glad I did it, because I enjoy this movie. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to Pod Planet Entertainment for more. Hit the like button, leave me reviews, suggestions, and comments down below. Follow me on Instagram at Pod Planet Entertainment for channel updates, and much love.